So, have you ever stopped to think about light? I mean, really think about it, beyond just, what lets us see.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Scientifically, it's this huge paradox.
Yeah, the whole thing where it acts like a wave
Oh,
sometimes
yeah.
and other times like a particle. It's central to quantum mechanics, right?
Exactly. But what if that duality, that two-sided nature, isn't just physics?
What if it tells us something deeper about like our own reality?
That's exactly what we're getting into today. We're diving deep using Rabbi Shlomo Zagyu's upcoming book, Physics of the Mystics, as our guide.
Okay, physics of the mystics. Sounds intriguing.
It really is. The book explores how these really cutting-edge scientific ideas, especially from quantum physics, actually echo ancient mystical teachings in a profound way.
So, bridging science and mysticism.
Kind of, yeah. Our mission here is to see if these, well, seemingly very different fields can give us a more unified picture of existence, and maybe even understand trust and our own power to shape things a bit better.
All right, let's start with the science bit then. This dual nature of light. It's famously both a wave and a particle.
That's the core paradox.
And what gets me is, even after you measure it and it acts like a particle, it can still show wave properties later.
That's the truly mind-bending part. It's not just a weird science fact, it's almost like a metaphor
A metaphor
for
for.
how reality itself can be fluid.
Right.
Think about your own experience. Sometimes you feel expansive, full of potential, less defined.
Yeah, like brainstorming or just dreaming about things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And other times, things feel very concrete, very defined. You're in that specific space, dealing with specifics.
Okay, I see that shift from potential to actual.
Well, that pattern mirrors what happens in the quantum world. It's a fundamental rhythm, it seems.
So we're constantly moving between these states, the sort of wide open potential and the more solid reality.
We are constantly cycling between the undifferentiated, that boundless possibility, and the differentiated, the world we see and touch. And importantly, both are real.
Both are real. Okay.
And here's the key insight, drawing from the book. Our focus, where we put our attention, really shapes which reality we experience.
So what I focus on becomes more real for me.
In a sense, yes. If you focus on one dimension, that's your experience. If you accept the state that's become more materialized, that's the reality you inhabit.
Like quantum physics, where observing collapses the possibilities.
Exactly like that. Infinite energy seems to crystallize into definite particles through observation, through measurement. But even when matter looks solid, those underlying possibilities, they're still there. It's a constant dance.
Wow. Okay. This idea of two realities coexisting. Does ancient mysticism, like the Chassidic thought you mentioned, talk about this?
It absolutely does, and it's quite remarkable how closely it aligns. Chassidic philosophy speaks about two main ways divine energy works. They uncannily parallel this quantum picture.
Really? Tell me more.
Okay, so first, there's Sodev Kol Alman. That translates roughly to the all-encompassing light.
All encompassing, like the wave potential.
Precisely. It's seen as God's transcendent infinite energy. It's not limited by creation itself. It's so subtle, its vessel is described as almost invisible. It represents that undifferentiated, boundless potential, pure possibility.
Okay, that's one. What's the other?
The other is Memele Kol Alman, the filling light. This is different. It's immanent, meaning it's within creation. It's measured, defined. It fills and sustains creation according to its specific capacity, its vessel.
Ah, so this is more like the particle, the defined reality.
You got it. This energy is sensitive to measurement. It
Yeah.
fills, it shapes, it brings about the world as we perceive it, the differentiated reality.
So you have this boundless sort of background energy and then this measured energy that creates specific things. It
Yeah.
really does sound like the quantum vacuum idea, this sea of potential everywhere.
Exactly. Limitless, undifferentiated potential.
That then manifests as concrete stuff.
Precisely. And this ties into two levels of unity in Chassidic thought. First is Yechuda Ilaha, the higher unity.
Higher unity.
Yeah, this is where all creation is sort of dissolved back into God's oneness. Time and space kind of lose their meaning there. It's all one.
Okay, total unity.
Then there's Yechuda Tata, the lower unity. This is more like our world. Things exist as separate entities within measured space and time. But crucially, they're still completely dependent on that divine energy to even exist.
So distinct but dependent.
Right. And the spiritual goal, it's to lift our awareness from this lower unity back towards the higher one, to experience that all-encompassing oneness again.
It's like seeing the connection behind everything.
It is. You can visualize it like, well, think of energy going from boundless potential, maybe to electromagnetic waves, then particles, then matter. It's like vapor becoming water, then water becoming ice.
Same underlying stuff, just different forms.
Exactly. And the point is, deep inside every atom, every photon, that boundless energy is still there. Always.
Okay, this is deep stuff, but how does it apply
Okay.
practically in
Right.
our lives? You mentioned trust earlier. Here's what gets really interesting, I think. Is trust just like another word for faith?
That's a really common question and a vital distinction. There's a great story about this. A man came to the Rebbe in the middle of a big crisis,
Okay.
and the Rebbe asked him, what's the difference between Immuna faith and Bitachon trust?
What did the man say?
Well, he said what most of us might say. Faith is believing God will help you solve your problem.
Sounds reasonable.
But the Rebbe corrected him. He said, someone with real trust, with Bitachon, they don't even see difficulties as problems to begin with.
Wait, not problems at all. How?
Because they trust so completely that God only sends challenges. Opportunities, really, not problems.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
that's a huge shift in perspective. Challenges, not problems.
It is. And this Bitachon, this deep trust, it's described as an awareness, a connection to that undifferentiated formless space of pure potential we were talking about.
So it connects back to that Sovev Kalama and that boundless state.
Exactly. From that level of awareness, nature itself isn't fixed. It can be shaped differently. Trust, Bitachon, is higher than faith. It's beyond space and time. There's no why or how, just a deep confidence that things will be as you trust, because any other outcome just seems impossible from that state.
That's a very profound level of confidence.
It is. And you see echoes in Scripture. Better to trust in God than to trust in princes, or the one who trusts God, kindness will surround him. Yisrael puts their trust in God.
Right.
There's even a teaching in the Jerusalem Talmud that Jews wear white on the high holidays as a sign of their trust that God will perform miracles.
Yeah.
And Rabbi Pinchas of Koretz went even further. He taught that if you truly trust, you might not even feel the need to pray or act because you're so certain of the outcome.
Okay, that raises the obvious question, though. Does this mean we just sit back and do nothing, just trust and wait? Is that the idea?
Ah, yes, the classic question. And no, that's not quite it. It's about balance. A crucial balance between this deep trust and appropriate human effort.
Balance. Okay.
The Torah itself says, God will bless you in all that you do. Emphasis on the do. There's an action component.
So we need to act.
Yes, but it's nuanced. The book Chavot Halavot talks about needing to create a vessel, a container for God's blessings. You have to make some space for the blessing to land, so to speak.
Create a vessel. I like that.
But then, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson also warned against overdoing it. Too much frantic effort. He compared it to tripping over clothes that are way too big for you.
Huh. Okay, so not too little, not too much. Balanced effort.
Exactly. Balanced effort within the boundaries of time and space is needed. It's not just trust. You need that measured effort to receive the blessing.
So trust provides the connection and effort creates the channel.
That's a good way to put it. Think
Yeah.
about the verse, throw upon God your package of problems and God will sustain you. The Hebrew can also imply that God prepares the vessels, the means in nature, for us to receive blessings once we commit them to Him with trust.
Interesting. So God might even help set up the how.
Right. Essentially, there are like three main ways blessings can come. One, directly from that higher realm beyond space and time, pure miracle, basically.
Right.
Two, through the vessels we make, our efforts in the natural world, within space and time.
Standard cause and effect.
Right. And three, a sort of hybrid. We trust deeply, connecting to that higher level, and God works supernaturally through natural means. The vessel we create might be used in an unexpected or amplified way.
Okay, that makes sense. Different levels.
And history gives us examples. Think of the four kings mentioned in tradition. King David prayed and fought. King Asa focused on making the effort. King Jehoshaphat, he just sang praises and trusted God would handle the battle.
And King Chiskiyahu.
He did nothing but trust completely when Sennacherib threatened Jerusalem. Total reliance. And the deliverance was purely miraculous. Different levels of trust, different levels of required action.
Wow. So it varies.
It does, like the manna in the desert. Some Israelites found it right at their doorstep, pure gift. Others had to go out and gather it. Some even had to grind and prepare it.
Each according to their level of trust.
According to their faith and trust, yes. Maimonides even wrote that God's providence, how much He intervenes directly, is kind of proportional to our openness to Him, how much we connect.
Which brings us right back to our own lives, our perspective, our openness. It really seems to shape what happens. It sounds a bit like that Schrodinger's cat idea again, doesn't it? Where the outcome isn't fixed until you look.
It's a very strong parallel. Think about Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, too. It suggests possibilities coexist, combinations of wave, particle, something else, until our approach, our measurement, determines the outcome we see.
So how does our approach determine things?
Well, if you view nature as totally separate from God, just a machine running on its own rules, and you only focus on what's visible and tangible,
Then you're stuck within those rules.
essentially, yes, you're operating solely within that lower unity, subject to its apparent limitations. The key idea from the source is, how much of that unlimited divine energy actually manifests depends on our openness. Or, conversely, on our limited perspective, our acceptance of only the physical.
Can you give an example of openness changing things?
Absolutely. Remember Rabbi Yochanan ben Dosa? His daughter lit the Shabbat lights with vinegar by mistake. Vinegar doesn't burn like oil.
Right. So what happened?
He simply told her, the one who makes oil burn can make vinegar burn. And because of his certainty, his connection to the source where those rules originate, the vinegar burned perfectly. His trust bypassed the natural limitation.
Wow. Okay.
Contrast that with Joseph in Egypt. The text suggests that by placing his trust in the butler to get him out of prison, rather than relying solely on God,
He limited the outcome.
he inadvertently introduced a limitation. He focused on the natural means, the vessel, and ended up staying in prison 2 more years. It suggests his focus on the human channel perhaps lessened the potential for more direct, immediate divine intervention.
So it's like that electron again. In the double slit experiment, it's a particle when it leaves the source and a particle when it hits the detector.
But in between, unobserved, it acts like a wave, exploring all paths.
And our measurement, our focus, our trust level collapses its possibilities into one reality for us.
That's a really insightful way to frame it. Our interaction determines the manifestation. Chassidic tradition is full of stories about the soul's power to go beyond normal limits.
Like what?
Well, there's a story of Chassidim who accidentally wandered into a church while deep in prayer and contemplation. They didn't even realize where they were.
Because their focus was elsewhere.
Exactly. Their intent, their awareness was purely on holiness. The physical space, the lower unity aspect, didn't affect them because their consciousness was operating at that higher level. Or Rabbi Schneerson, praying the afternoon service very late at night. For him, God is the same at all times, so the conventional time constraints didn't necessarily bind his spiritual practice at that moment. He was operating beyond time.
Transcending limitations through connection.
Yes. There are even stories, quite startling ones, of prayers for the joyous festival of Simchas Torah being said on the solemn day of Yom Kippur, but only when sanctioned by a tzaddik, a righteous leader, tapping into that higher unity where such things are possible.
So our bodies keep us grounded here, in the physical.
Right. They anchor us.
Uh,
But our souls, the mystics call the soul the candle of God. It naturally flickers upward seeking connection.
and the more we tune into that flame,
The less burden we feel by the body, by time, by space, the limitations feel less limiting.
is that related to the mikveh, the ritual bath?
It's a powerful symbol of that. The mikveh is traditionally seen as a portal, a way to reconnect with the source of life. It represents purity, a state beyond time. It can even purify past actions, retroactively.
Beyond time. Wow.
And it's interesting, isn't it? A human-built mikveh is often square-measured, defined, certain. Represents our attempt to structure that connection.
Right.
But a natural spring or river used as a mikveh, it's unmeasured, flowing, wild. It is the source, offering purity directly. It highlights that while we humans, with our egos and focus on the physical, try to connect,
You need guidance.
we always need to align with God's principles, with the source itself, to truly access that unlimited potential that's always here all around us.
So what does this all mean for us then? We've gone from light being weirdly dual in physics to these deep mystical ideas about divine energy and landed on trust and action in our own life. It's quite a journey.
It really is. And the thread connecting it all is this. At every level, these two realities, the infinite potential, the Sovev, the wave, and the finite manifestation, the memole, the particle, they're always both present.
Always coexisting. Always. And how we interact with the world, our perspective, our focus, our trust, our openness to those deeper dimensions, that's what continuously shapes the reality we actually experience. We always have a choice in how we engage.
Even when things seem totally fixed.
Even then.
Yeah.
Because the potential, the source,
Yeah.
is never truly gone. It's always underlying everything.
Okay, so here's something to chew on. Think about the measurement you are applying to your own life right now, to a challenge you're facing, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
If perception and focus really do influence which reality shows up for you, what might happen if you viewed that challenge not as this solid fixed problem,
Good aspect.
but as undifferentiated potential? Like that unobserved wave, something just waiting to be shaped by your trust, your openness, your connection to that deeper source. What possibilities might emerge then?